When Amo told me that he wanted me to read a passage, I had a lot to choose from. Obviously, I have a lot of books, but I thought I would start at the beginning, which would be the first novel, Welcome to the Multiverse, Sorry for the Inconvenience. The novel starts like this. He is the lurker in the shadows of the alleyways behind the eyes of inmates in asyli for the awkward. He haunts the spaces between whole numbers. He feeds on the nightmares of those who sleep soundly because they don't know any better. He is the vaguely threatening, half-heard voice that annoys you because it refuses to speak up, even though it continually interrupts some moderately important task that, at that moment in time, should be getting your complete attention. On any given night, you can find him in the dark dreams of vegetarian butchers. He is the ache at the center of the hole in your heart before you even know the center of your heart has a hole in it that aches. He is the pre-ache. He has nothing to do with the story that follows. He doesn't know this. In fact, he would be offended by this fact if he did know it. He is the lurker in the shadows of the etc., etc. He was born to be the antagonist of a story. He'd been lurking in the shadows and all that since he was 12. He was very good at it, perhaps the best in the universe. All of that work perfecting his lurking skills deserved the reward of a central place in a story. To even imagine that he would be a minor character in somebody else's story, mentioned in the first couple of pages and then discarded like a bad memory that hadn't quite formed a pattern in the synapses of a dementia sufferer's brain, well, given all the work he had put into his craft, that just didn't seem right. That just... The lurker in the shadows of the alleyways behind the eyes of inmates in asyli for the awkward realized that he was out of toothpaste. So he hopped into his Prius. What? A lurker in the shadows of you know the drill can't have environmental consciousness? And drove to the nearest Maxi Multi-Mega Mart, a wholly owned subsidiary of Multinat Corp. We do retail stuff. Okay, his environmental consciousness was selective. Whose isn't? He was dressed in black with a red bow tie because he had heard somewhere that bow ties were cool. It was at the Maxi Multi-Mega Mart between the aisles for household appliances not bigger than a bread box and weasel supplies. No, the layout of the products in the Maxi Multi-Mega Mart was not eccentric. It was designed to maximize impulse purchasing. You know how it works. Haven't you ever been looking for toothpaste and thought to yourself, hey, I should get some of that weasel chow, now with 27% more human disgustingness? That the story truly begins. Boy, a woman said, can I get some help over here? The lurker with all that descriptive baggage turned to find a well-kept, pleasant enough middle-aged woman. He could imagine her scrubbing a pot, really putting some muscle into it, dreading finding out what mischief the beaver would be getting into at some time that day. Maybe taking a pill to, take the edge off, maybe help her keep the homicidal thoughts at bay, looking towards the time the children are old enough to bugger off and leave her to a future she couldn't imagine but had to be better than the present she was living. In short, she reminded him of his mother. Except that she absently played with a space where her left earlobe should have been. And he was pretty sure his mother came with a complete set. Although, when you think about it, it would have saved her money on earrings. Can you tell me, please, the woman asked, what exactly the difference is between a Blendmaster 5000 with 17 levels and 12 settings, and a Mixmonkey 5001 with 12 levels and 17 settings? He looked at the woman blankly. Part of him wondered how a blender could be considered smaller than a bread box. Perhaps the comparison was made with the bread box on its side. But mostly he thought, is she serious? Could this woman possibly be serious? She's confusing the lurker in the shadows of the alleyways behind the eyes of inmates in the asyli for the awkward with an aisle rat in a Maxi Multi-Mart store? It's a simple enough question, the woman, impatience creeping into her voice, stated. Are you too simple to know the answer? Jesus, lady, the lurker in the shadows of sarcasm responded. Did you buy that pearl necklace, or did you mug an oyster bed? Excuse me, the woman, dumbfounded, asked. Nice pink dress, the lurker in the shadows of being on a roll continued. The 50s would like it back. This is outrageous, the woman, in a cold fury, she kept it in her freezer for just such occasions, stated. The lurker in the shadows of obliviousness didn't notice that her voice actually got softer. What happened to your ear, the lurker in the shadows that you've come to know and love continued. Get too close to your pet piranha at feeding time? The woman stared at him in anger. Now, interpretations of what happened next differ. The lurker in the shadows with poor self-preservation instincts swears that he just meant to pick a piece of lint off the arm of the woman's dress. She must have felt that his reaching towards her was some kind of threat. Before the lurker in the shadows, who maybe should have listened to his parents and taken that job Uncle Manny had offered him in his pet electroshock therapy practice, knew what was happening, the woman was standing behind him, bending the index finger of his right hand far enough back to cause him the maximum amount of pain without making him pass out. The lurker in the shadows of a destiny he couldn't comprehend didn't know what scared him more. The fact that his mother was bending his finger just enough to inflict the maximum amount of pain on him without causing him to pass out? Or that his mother knew how to bend his finger just enough to inflict the maximum amount of pain on him without causing him to pass out? Through his pain, the lurker in the shadows of suddenly realizing what a small fish he was in the universe's big pond, heard the woman whisper into his ear, Did you know that there are 237 ways to kill a man? With chopsticks? Lips trembling, the lurker, who was beginning to lose faith in the shadows, was about to stutter, no, or some other cliche that people in his situation stutter, when the woman vanished. He fell to his knees as the pain slowly ebbed out of him. A minimum wage maxi multi-megamart aisle drone noticed him, assumed he was praying to the god of weasel supplies, and left him to his worship. The lurker in the shadows of getting himself out of that damn store alive did in fact have a revelation on the floor of the Maxi Multi-Megamart. He realized that he wasn't cut out to be the antagonist in a major narrative. The no longer lurker in the shadows of the alleyways behind the eyes of inmates in Asylum for the Awkward wondered if he could get a small part in a children's novel. Maybe if he put on a weasel suit. Yeah, that's it. He could be a weasel. The prologue is past. Thank you very much.